welcome to Stampscaping 101. On this video, I want to expand the testing on the Stardream Lapis Lazuli based on this type of composition right here with the paper towel clouds and I don't know, just the light on dark type of application of media. But let's expand this one. On the previous video, I was wondering how some addition of black ink would apply to a scene like this, or to the technique. And also, I was thinking, I think I missed an opportunity too with the clouds being reflected down here in the water. So let's give that a test right here. Let's go with a little bit of a larger format here. Let's go with a half-page kind of vertical. 11 inches by 4¼ You can go smaller. You can do this on a smaller card format too. I don't know what they call it, slimline or whatnot. But you can use whatever dimensions you want here. I'm just going with a little bit of a larger field here, so I can kind of play around with these techniques a little bit more and to develop what I'm kind of going after if it's looking good. Okay. All right. So we have a cotton ball here. We have our paper towel and Q-tip, some household items for this technique, or process, or both. And here's what I'm going to be considering. Okay, so if this is nature set 6, and I'm doing it around the Lakeside Cabin here. If you want more sky, then you just stamp it lower. If you want it to have more water, then you stamp it higher. On something like this one, where I want to feature some reflective types of qualities to this card, I want to have, leave a decent amount of space for water. Sometimes I don't know if, doing things like right in the middle there is a little bit too, I don't know, symmetrical in terms of the spacing on the top and bottom. Usually I like to go a little bit more kind of rule of thirds type of thing, higher up here, a little lower like that, kind of, split 2/3 or whatnot in terms of the horizon line. Not always, but I don't know. There is something to that type of harmony. All right. So that being said, I also thought, let's bring in another image. Let's kind of break out a little bit here. At least with one extra image here. And I thought I would use Cloud with Moon. That's on. So everything's sold on its own too, or you can use any type of moon you want. If you don't have a moon, you can even do like a hole punch type of thing and, lay it down here and to tap in some white pigment ink to define a moon. Like they often do with suns and whatnot. But I'll use it around the Cloud with Moon. This one's the small one. You can use a larger one, whatever you want, especially if you're doing a card this size. All right, so this moon would be kind of interesting, kind of rising behind those trees right there, but I'm going to stamp it a little bit higher here. I don't know, just for no other reason, because, when I start adding in all these clouds and things like that, this ink, I'm guessing, is going to dry a little bit slower on this paper than... I go about like so, maybe. I just think it's going to dry a little bit slower than your typical, say, dye-based ink on cardstock. Okay. Just the paper is a little bit more sealed off with that. I don't know, whatever's used in something like Stardream. Some of the Stardream papers too. I don't know. They take ink a little bit differently. This one takes it beautifully. Now, I don't know if this is because this is a text weight 80 pound. I didn't buy it in both incarnations, the 105 and 80, so I can't say for sure. But I did try stamping out an image in black in the same ink that I'm using right here, but now this paper's darker too, but it just accepted the ink so much easier. This was the Lakeside Cabin, and that's the, Cloud with Moon. I'll stamp the Lakeside Cabin on here too. Or the Lakeside Cabin is stamped in black right here too. You can just see how much deeper and richer an imprint it is than this one. This one here almost kind of resisted the ink. So I don't know. It's kind of strange. They're different colors, so I don't know if that matters as well. One's more reflective, maybe, or metallic. Maybe there's no metallics in this lapis lazuli. I don't know. Okay, now I stamped this clouded moon first because I just needed to know where those formations were going to be so that I can illuminate that moon. I thought I would do that with the paint pen here. Now this is going to be a little bit moist, so I'm going to make sure that I don't rub my hand over it or something of that sort. Okay, let's see how this Miaosun white paint pen will do. Okay, it's going to be rather defined because I'm doing it in this paint pen right here, but we'll kind of mellow this moon out a little bit. It'll still be very light in the sky, but I guess you can do a moon too. You can draw it just with a, like a gel or paint pen. But what I mean is we'll mellow that out with some additional white pigment ink around it, when we do our clouds. And as you can see, this image already inherently has some cloud formations in it, okay? All right, now it doesn't have to be, we're not going for, completely flat black or anything like that. I mean, you certainly could do that if you want to, but I don't think that's going to be necessary. All right, so it's like a little hole in the sky or something like that, huh? All right, now, here's my thoughts on this now. I think we could go in and start bringing in those clouds into it. Let's try this, something like this. This is what I was curious about. Let's try, let me get a piece of paper towel. This is our ink applicator right here, too. It's our masking tool. It's our ink applicator. I don't know, I've just been using a lot of paper towels since Clear Snap went out of business. I used to like using my stylus tools a lot, if you know what those are. Okay, let's bring in some tone here. This is kind of, don't think about this like applying like a thick layer of ink, okay? Think about it like you're kind of sponging on or just applying kind of a dry, kind of like almost like charcoal or something like that, or a pastel, oil pastel onto the scene, okay? All right. Okay, this has that kind of that feel that I used to get when I was doing this technique on the, I already forgot the name of the one. I used to do this type of technique a lot on the aquamarine, and the black really shows up quite a bit. That's really fun, but it looks really good on the dark blue here too. Okay, now here's what I'm doing here. I want to just slightly blend in this image with the perimeter, okay? I don't want to completely darken up everything. You want it kind of a little bit streakier. Don't worry about getting kind of like perfectly even streaks or anything like that, or perfect the blending of forms, that image with a surrounding area. We're going to add in a lot of clouds over the top of this anyway, so all of this is just, it kind of expedites the entire kind of blending process, the continuity. So it kind of gives it a little bit of atmosphere, doesn't it? Like that. Doesn't have to be everywhere either, just kind of, just have it really irregular, See this right here, I'm kind of bringing it into it a little bit more up there, but maybe in some areas I just kind of give it a short little stroke like that, okay? It kind of starts giving bringing a little bit of a kind of personality to this setting, don't you think? Okay, let's see, my Lakeside Cabin will be somewhere down here. Let's bring some of this into the water too. Okay, this is where kind of having it a little bit more irregular and streaky. So it almost looks like kind of some water here with these streaks running across there, and we haven't even added in anything else. All right, now one of the things I like to do on cards is quite often is I like to, if afforded the opportunity for it, some of these cards I don't frame everything off in black, but if we're doing it here, and this really blends in beautifully like this, I like to go four corners, and what that does is it creates kind of a cap on the card, and it creates this kind of vignette type of feel. See how this is kind of capped off on the bottom and top up there. Okay, so you kind of go like this. Kind of blend it in a little bit though. Don't make it just, like a hard edge like that. Okay, what you want to do is you kind of just want to bring it in from the outside like this. Kind of have a little bit of an arc, but kind of a transitioning one, going from a little bit darker on the edge to a little bit lighter on the interior like that. Okay. Looks pretty interesting like that, even just that. And then if I stamp my image right on top of there, it would have kind of a different feel. But let's, we're playing around with media here. We just want to see how far we can take things, with a couple different mediums here. Just black and white. But of course, since this is already on the blue, we already have our hue, and hopefully we get some variations of that as well. Okay, let's go to our cotton ball. I would recommend 100% cotton as opposed to an acrylic one. I've tried the acrylic ones, and sometimes they seem even fluffier and light, okay? But this one just doesn't work as well, all right? It just didn't. If you know anything about like fabrics and things like that, the synthetics are supposed to wick moisture really well, like if you're wearing fabrics on your body. So if you're hiking in cold weather, you wear synthetics, capilene or whatever, and if you're going like in the desert, they say that cotton works a lot better because it holds the moisture next to your body. But so with something like this, I find that 100% cotton just absorbs more of the moisture, okay? Meaning, the inks. And then it can also transfer just as well because it's absorbed more, where I find that this one's just, it's kind of resisting adding that into the material. You can try it, with whatever you want, but I don't know. I find the experience kind of less comfortable. Okay, so this is a paper towel. Paper towels kind of have a grain to them. They're going one way. See, when I ripped one way, it's kind of straight. So when you rip it kind of across, or you might rip it at a diagonal, this one's kind of going right across the grain. It's a little bit more jagged, so it just depends on what kind of arc you want, and you can fine tune like that. Maybe this is too jagged of a cloud, so it's easy just to go in there. It takes like 2 seconds, and then you can have an arc like that. If you want a more billowy one, then you can just kind of pull off more like that and get more of an arcing curve if you want. I don't know. Most of the times I don't even bother. I just kind of go with the rip. All right. Okay, so what this is going to be, we have a light source in this one now, okay? Like right here, all the clouds are kind of going upwards, okay? So I have my billows like that, facing up, right up. But on this one, with such a strong kind of light source like that, what I'll do is I'll go with clouds going up like this, okay, from underneath the moon. And then we'll have some clouds up here, and we'll have this with the billows facing down because they're being bottom lit, okay? Does that make sense? I mean, we don't have to just, I won't be just using this one here, but let's start off with this one. Okay, so I'm doing this right into the image right here. Okay, we're going to have to put some light around those clouds right there. So, or you can start lower, whatever you want. Okay. All right. So when your cotton ball's kind of new, I would recommend using this over and over and over again until it just is too dried up and solid with too much ink saturating it that you just can't use it anymore. But I don't know, just use them over and over again until it gets that way. Okay, so what you're doing in this is you're kind of applying a little bit more. See, I'm kind of like up on my edge right here, so I'm kind of half on the cotton ball and half on the paper and half on the paper towel with the cotton ball. Okay, let me see if I can kind of do this in a way that where you can see it, what's being done right here. Okay, see that cloud like that? Now, my pad here, I keep saying this over and over, but my Hero Arts pigment ink pad here, you can use whatever white pigment ink you have. I probably wouldn't recommend the Brilliance ones, the ones that we've been stamping our images in, because I use that because that dries really fast on this type of paper, or on any paper. So I don't want this to dry so fast. You might use it in conjunction with this one, but I wouldn't use it to do this because, see, when I add this down here, I can kind of still manipulate it quite a bit. With the Brilliance, it might just dry, so this area down here, I can't really transition it off as easily because it's just drying so fast. So I don't know. Use accordingly. Most pads are like this Hero Arts one. They're just regular pigment ink. I don't know if there's another kind of fast drying one out there like the Brilliance. So I'm just unfamiliar with a lot of media out there. That's, I don't know, in some ways a lot of the media that's been released in the last 10 years or something like that. I just don't buy a lot of it. I've been buying quite a bit of inks for me recently, just because I like to experiment around with this, the metallics and these iridescent types of papers like this. And I just I didn't have a wide selection of, say, Stardream papers. Okay, now see, I'm just kind of bringing this up here, right here. And if I kind of don't go exactly on the mask, again, that's fine, because what I'm going to do is this kind of establishes a general kind of edge for the cloud. But to me, I think it looks a little bit better if you kind of blend it out a little bit too. I think that I don't like how jagged this is right here too, so I mean, I like it kind of, but I want to go with a little bit more of a smoother edge too, so let's just do another rip right here, and then let's blend, some additional clouds into there. Okay, so I just kind of move it down. I mean, you can build on the same one that you just did. There's all kinds of different possibilities with this technique right here, or, process. Just like that. Okay, let's put one in between these two right here. You can go for a lighter one like that too. Go for lighter ones, or I should say darker ones. Lighter application of cloud. Okay. All right, something like that. See how that's kind of developing. Let's go back to this one right here. Okay, let me kind of get rid of some of those little edges, though. Okay, it's a little bit too jagged, I think. So, I don't know, a little operation on my mask right there. Took, a couple seconds to do. All right, now here's what I'm considering here. All right, I think I'll put the Lakeside Cabin somewhere around here. All right, I don't know, put it over here. So I think what I'm going to do, let's just forget the mask right now. And let's just go on. This is where you just kind of build onto these clouds. See, I'm extending it down like this, but I'll also kind of give it kind of a little bit more of a softer edge, okay? So I'm going up and right over the top of that masked out area. But see, I mean, this applies really slowly, or hopefully it does for you. You know, if you get a big blob, just remove some of the ink before you take it on here. But see, this is me just going straight from my pad. And see how I'm just going right on there, like that. So see, I'm going above that cloud too, but see how that cloud's kind of glowing a little bit more now around that edge. Okay, and you see I can extend it out this way too. Just, you know, this is just freehand. Interesting. See that moon there? That moon, after the acrylic pen, is drying kind of, and it's got a little bit of a texture on it, but I think I like that texture. It's just not just straight white. It kind of looks like, you know, little formations on the moon, you know, the craters and things like that. Okay, Lakeside Cabin area, like the roof will be right in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lighten up this area a little bit more so that we can see not only the cabin and the rooftop of it, but we'll be able to see the silhouette of the trees a little bit more because the area behind it is lighter. Okay. Makes sense. This is a dark blue paper, so if I stamp Lakeside Cabin on there, I think it'll look good, but it'll stand out a little bit more if we lighten the paper up where it's going to be stamped out. Okay. Building this up. Now, in my mind, I think the clouds around the moon would be nice and illuminated. Now, this is where I was talking about before. Don't worry about the, you know, that moon being so harsh, you know, sharp like that. Although it looks pretty good. Because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some of this white pigment ink right onto that moon. Okay, here's what I'm finding. As I do this, as I apply this on top of the black, it's applying slower, I think, because that black ink is down there. Black ink might still be a little bit wet, but okay, here it comes. So I just had to kind of do it a little bit more. Okay, I need more ink on here. Okay, here we go. See that moon? Doesn't that moon look like it's glowing a little bit more now because it, you know, we applied the you know, the white pigment ink over it, so it has that glow. Look at that. We've kind of like turned the lights on there now. All right, let's add a little bit more pigment ink around these clouds too, so that they're glowing in the moonlight and reflecting some of that light. It's light source and the reflected light, so you've created this visual dialogue between the light source and all these other objects in the scene. We have kind of an official light source. On this one, you can say we have, you know, kind of a light source, but would it illuminate everything? No, but you can kind of make it look that way. That one was just a real fast card and test. You know, I wanted to test really what the inks would look like. The black ink especially, on top of Lapis Lazuli. Would it show up at all? Alright, look at that glow that's working in there. I love that. Let's extend this cloud down a little bit more, I think. Okay, this. I love watching these clouds develop like this. It's just, I don't know, it makes a scene more kinesthetic. That's what I'm often going for in in my designs too. Um, a lot of the designs out there naturally are visual, okay? One of the things I want with Stampscape stamps is I layer my images, so there might be 5, 6, 7 layers of a dot pattern you call stippling, okay? And usually in designs and artwork out there, what I see are it's a visual kind of approach to designing, which of course naturally it is, okay? But what I try to do in my designs is, vision is one sense, but what I like to do in my designs is I like to give them a sense of touch and kinesthetics, so that in a design, what you have is not only visual, one sense, but I want a sense of touch and texture, and depth within the forms, okay, so that you utilize this other entire sense. And then when you get things like that, and then you do things like this, like these clouds here, it kind of, you can almost in a subconscious way make you feel like you could feel the atmosphere, okay? Or you can hear things, like if there's like a lot of fog, fog tends to dampen the sound, okay? Now, by the way, I'm going with my kind of cloud billows facing down this way because I'm above the light source here, okay? See how that's kind of developing like that? Does not look like the clouds up here being bottom lit now. But yeah, that sense of sound and touch, everyone has kind of their dominant sense, they say, okay? So you might have, a very high sense of all your senses, but there's usually one that's a little bit more dominant. Most people are probably visual or auditory or kinesthetic. Some people might, the dominant sense might be smell. You can tell by the way people kind of explain things, and oh yeah, that rings a bell, or yeah, I catch you. Those are kind of saying, similar types of things. Yeah, that I see what you mean. That's visual. Or if they're explaining a way to get to your house, turn left at the chocolate brown building or whatever. That'd be a sense of taste. But so when you're doing cards for people, the more kind of senses you kind of involve with your end results, it makes more of a connection to, the people that you're sending it to, or it could create a stronger kind of touch. So a lot of times when I see people's work, sometimes, I mean, it's hard to see, I'm not like a card reader or anything like that, or a handwriting analysis. I'm not a card analysis person, but a lot of times I can tell when people are kinesthetic, just because everything they do, there's just so much texture in the cards. So I just know that that's kind of probably the thing that they're kind of, the thing that they kind of like in visuals, okay? It's the textural quality of it, the sense of touch within those visuals, okay? So that's what something like this is doing. It's visual, but it's also kinesthetic. You get a feel for it. It kind of evokes some sort of feeling. Okay. It doesn't have to be someone's dominant touch, but that sense of touch is there for everyone. So that's what I want in my designs, and that's what I also try to do in the pieces. Okay. And if I put some simple thing like a little bit of fog, like in my piece, this is what I thought this would look really cool with a little bit of fog like this in front of my scene like this, okay, image or whatnot. If you put a little fog in the water like that, okay, what you're doing is you're saying that there's not as much of a breeze in the air, okay? So it's usually quieter. There's no wind rustling leaves or anything like that. And it can create this kind of feeling of sound, Fog tends to dampen sound, right? Because there's so much moisture in the air. So you kind of enter this element of the auditory into your pieces, So when I'm talking about all these things, it's not like a complex thing. It's like you can use a little bit more fog or something like that, and suddenly things become there's a textural range, that you have in your pieces just by doing a little bit of fog or something like that. That's what I like about that. Or if I want to highlight on something, I put a little highlight on, these clouds with a white paint pen. Okay, so what we've done is we've made something that's inherently two-dimensional a little bit more three-dimensional, which would involve, which kind of represents volumes, okay? And volumes are three-dimensional, so that would give it a little bit more of a sense of touch, visual touch, that is, okay? All right, now see right here, where there's the moon right here, I'm going to bring a little bit more of this pigment ink on the clouds that are kind of, a little bit closer to and might be affected more by that light. Look at that. It's kind of getting a little bit more illuminated right around there. I don't want to illuminate everything, but kind of just enhancing some areas a little bit more. See, like that? Here's this one right here. It's really kind of fun watching the lights kind of turn on a little bit in this type of technique right here. I haven't done this too much, so I'm kind of learning as I go a little bit more. And I like this type of technique right here because it's super, I don't know, it's super forgiving and, you know what I mean? I'm just kind of tapping. You can go like this, and it just, it doesn't happen like instantaneously, like watercolor paintings or something like that, or calligraphy, where it's like you do one kind of stroke and that's it. It's all about kind of the gesture and the mastery of the, the line work and the spontaneity. This is, like the opposite of that. Now, I love that look of, watercolor paintings and Chinese calligraphy or whatnot, lettering, but, I don't want that type of process, at least in this type of technique right here. All right, so I think that is really fun looking right there as a whole. Okay, look at that. It's two inks, and I think that kind of looks like it has, kind of some deep space to it. Okay, now I have this moon in here. The cabin's going to be stamped out somewhere. Let's do this thing where we put this a little bit of light on the water. So let me just do something like this, okay? Okay, I'm just kind of, I think I'm a little bit off. I'm a little bit left, so let's kind of go down here. Don't put a ruler or something like that, I guess if you need to, you can, but something like this. This is my water down here. Now, water has that kind of that texture, so I don't want things to be a little bit more, I don't know, kind of textured than, super soft. It's, I want it kind of glassy looking, so let's put some little striations in it if we can. Okay. All right, so there that is. I don't know, that looks pretty good soft too, huh? It kind of looks like water or something like that already. Well, let's try something here. I mean, this is all about experimentation. I'll do the experimenting for you, and you can decide if you like it or not. Some people think, I don't know if I want to do something. I just say, just do it. Try it, Okay, so I'm just going to mask off here, and I'm going along this edge right here. So I get this edge kind of lined up. And then let's do this. Let's kind of come like this a little bit. I'm going mostly on the paper like right now. Okay, so I just have a little bit on the lapis lazuli. Okay, I don't want a big streak out here, okay? I don't think. Okay. That created a pretty long line there. Let's go down here. Let's kind of go... I don't know, maybe I should have started it down here so I can see what I've done. Okay, so let's go like this. Okay, alright. That shows up. A lot of times it's hard to see what you're doing because the application of this is just so faint. Okay, so go here like that. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread these out a little bit more, the higher I get, so that it looks like kind of you're going from near to far. So I'll show you what I mean here. Okay, I don't want to just fill in the entire water, so I'll just make some shorter strokes right here, you know, like that. As opposed to going all the way across, I went a little bit too far right here, I think. But look at that. Okay, I think that looks pretty good right there. Look at that water like that going back in the distance, and I don't know if you can imagine the Lakeside Cabin stamped right there. I know this one could go a little bit farther, maybe. I don't know. Let's get a little bit more of this pigment ink down here. Let's get a little bit more pigment ink right around here, wherever kind of the general area that Lakeside Cabin is going to go. Okay, I'm getting some little blotchy marks now from the, there's a big blob of paint in there, so just kind of add it down and just kind of spread it around a little bit. Okay, like that. Now here's where I was talking about, see, I have those blotchy marks. I don't know if you can see it right there, but just kind of, this is what I talk about, you know, the slower drying pigment ink. You can kind of move it around after you get it down there, you know, as if it was like an oil paint. So pigment inks are oil-based, right? So if it doesn't have that fast-drying element in it, like the brilliance pad, then they'll spread around. All right, I really like that look right there. I think that's really fun. I think that's a new kind of technique there for you to kind of play around with. I think this one is where this is how you kind of develop your whatever technique. See, I came in from the sides this time with the silver. But really what I should have done with these swipes right here is I should have done it from the center out, like that, so that you get this kind of lighter area in here and darker on the perimeter. Right here, I didn't do anything, but I thought, I think we could have benefited from a little bit of a texture down here in streaks. So on my third one, you know, I'm doing this, and I think that looks really good. I think that's going to kind of... you know, benefit the piece. We'll see. But I think that already looks like water, so I don't know, just really I think a fun look. Okay, so Lakeside Cabin on here, and let's go with our, make sure that's sticking on there. Okay, so we're going back to the you know, the black pigment ink here. I'm pretty sure the pigment ink is the only thing that's going to be able to stamp on top of other pigment ink here. This could just be the ocean here. You can do this. I think that would look just like greatest, just a scene as is. Wouldn't that just be great with a quote up there or something like that? It's like going off into the you know, the great unknown, or like one of the Great Lakes, or whatever, the ocean, whatever, you know, a large body of water. But that being said, let me get a little bit more ink on this. Okay. This looks like a painting to me. I guess it's kind of all that freeform work that you do in there. Okay, now, that's kind of the horizon line, I think. So this is my horizon line, kind of signifier right here. It goes right across this image. If you get a little bit higher, a little bit lower, don't worry about it, okay? You can go, you know, there's plenty of leeway here. You can 1/4 inch up, 1/4 inch down. That's a 1/2 inch, you know, space. Okay. I don't find stamping this Versafine onto this, I don't find it real slick, so it's not like, you know, this paper's not sliding underneath me or anything like that. Plenty of pressure on the center of the image. Don't rock your stamps, you know, when you're stamping them out. You know, you'd be squashing kind of the perimeter kind of forms and details. Okay, so what I just do is you want to go with vertical, but, you know, kind of get good pressure all the way around. I'm holding this down a little bit longer because I am stamping on top of wet white pigment ink, okay? The black is pretty well, you know, that's set up by now. All right. Look at that, with the cabin right there. I do think that these impressions stamp very nicely on top of the Stardream. Yeah, look at that. I think that really helped it, don't you? Now, the reason why I did this before, I mean, you could stamp this out and then allow it to dry and then do all this type of work afterwards. But this is going to be wet for a little bit of time, so that's why I do it after I do the background. So I don't have to wait for it to dry. I come back to this video later. All right. Let's, I want to add some foreground in here, but let's illuminate that cabin there with the white paint pen. This is where we're kind of adding a little bit of continuity, or a little bit more continuity with that degree of lighting up there, okay? Let's see here. I'm putting this in a direction, if I do it like this, I can't see. So I'm doing it in a direction where I can see that cabin easily. All right, that cabin, the window has the little frame, so I'm just doing these as little dots like that, okay? There's side windows there too, but I think that looks a little bit too much, okay? All right, now there's little rocks around this cabin, okay? And in the design itself, I create these little this little reflective area down here. So what I'm doing is I'm going to add a few little like dots. I'm going to taper it though, okay? So add a little bit more dots, kind of closer to the light, okay? Or these rocks on the top sides of these rocks. And then, see, I taper it off. I'll do it like a small dot as it moves away from the light source as it gets farther away. Okay, so here's a rock right here. Light, I don't know, maybe I put too much of it on that one. Okay, so anyways, see a little kind of lighting in there now? It makes things a little bit more inviting, kind of from an emotional standpoint. There we go with feel again, right? So, you know, when we're talking about kinesthetics, it's just like, what would be welcoming, okay? So the way you approach these types of things is you make those kind of emotional connections with that, okay? It's not a complicated process, you know. It's, you know, when I'm talking about senses, okay, don't let that complicate things for you, okay? This is a sense of touch already, just by adding a little bit of pigment ink over this, okay? It becomes a little bit more kinesthetic. You've added a different texture, okay? So we have crisp textures and soft textures. That's kinesthetic right there because you've created a visually wider range of textures. Okay, now watch this right here too. This is also kind of this sense of volume. Okay, I'm just going to put a few little highlights here and there on a couple of these clouds. I don't want too much because this, you know, this pen really stands out quite a bit on here because we're working on a dark piece of paper. Okay, so just a couple little dots like this, you know, kind of. That creates a little bit more volume right there. See those little highlights on that? I mean, it's very subtle. Okay, see that right there? So what we're saying is there's like different little touches, and what you're saying is there's moisture in those clouds because it's reflecting so much light. I mean, there's little highlights on something like this. Everything on your desk has highlights, like my nail has. See that? You know, it has a little texture to it. So that when you add that type of thing in there, you know, with a little touch like that, you've created that texture to it. So, and again, that is touch. Okay, so think about things from a textural standpoint as well as visual. Okay, they're visually textural and whatnot, but it just kind of fills things out a little bit more. Now, like I said, I inherently kind of draw those things in my designs as much as possible. That's why you see them so tonal, and there's a lot of different textures within the tones. I layer things with different textures as well. Okay. Yeah, right. I think that looks really fun from a visual standpoint. It kind of invites someone into a piece too. Kind of the more evocative you make it, you want to evoke feelings, I guess. Okay, so here's a tree right here. Let's bring in, let's frame off this foreground right here, and what this does right here too, okay? This not only kind of expands on your depth of field, you have something near and far in the scene, but the cabin was kind of, I mean, the water down here would be close to us, but the cabin as far as like a visual subject matter, that was like the foreground. Now we've added this, so we have something much closer to us, okay? And when you do something like kind of larger images in the foreground like this, what you've done as a stamper in this scene is you've given us now, and I'm a viewer in the scene as well, what we do is we give ourselves something now we're standing on. Without this, without these trees, we're just kind of out there in the open. We could be in the water. We're like this entity, you know, that's kind of just viewing a scene. But when you put something like that in the foreground, you're saying that there's solid ground over here. So see, that's kinesthetic too. We're standing on this vantage point, looking across there. Okay, so you've given the viewer something to stand. So when I'm talking about kinesthetics and something like that, it's not, you know, you might already be doing these types of things, but you know, you just have this more of this conscious awareness of what it could be doing to the scene from a emotional standpoint for the viewer, okay? So like I said, we've given ourselves some solid ground. Now we're standing on something, and we're able to look out there, okay? All right. Let me see if there's a good quote stamp for this one. I don't know if I'm going to use it in here or not, but I want to take a look. Okay, from Scenic Sentiment sheet number 2. I don't have the the insert for this one, but this one says, "Moonlight is sculpture," from N. Hawthorne. It's Nathaniel Hawthorne, right? And I think that'd be kind of appropriate for this one. I think these clouds almost like, when I'm adding those in there, it's almost like this sculptural type of process right there. All right, now here's my, not dilemma, but question. Should I do those in the Hero Hues white or the Brilliance white? I think I'm going to do it in the Brilliance. I think it'll stand out a little bit more. I think the Hero Hues would be a little bit more translucent, so I don't think it'll show up as much. I think I want a little bit more impact with the quote here, so I think I'm going to go for the Brilliance. I think the Brilliance is going to be just a little bit more opaque. Okay. All right. Let me just do. Let me do a test right here on this one. This is just the backside of this other scene that I did. Yeah, I think that's good. I don't think that's so bright, you know. But I don't know, I think I do want the text to stand out a little bit more than kind of a more subtle, translucent hero arts. Not that this one's, opaque or anything like that, but it's not so opaque. And I think I want this a little bit more out to the side, kind of like this one right here. I don't know. I don't think it looks good centered. Well, I don't know. I think centered actually would look okay. I'm trying to imagine the text right there. I think it'd look okay. I think it would even look good right there. I don't know. I think there's different possibilities. Now you can stamp this out on something else. It'd be kind of interesting if you stamped it out like on this, cut this out, kind of matted it, and then put this piece right on there, so you have this kind of frame right over the top of this. But I'm just going to incorporate it in with the scene itself. Oh my gosh, my Tack and Beetle is so. I think it's this cover. I need to wash it off. I can't even see through here, so I'm just going to hope for a reasonably straight impression. If it comes a little bit angled or whatnot, I won't worry about it. I won't worry about it because it's already done. There's nothing I can do about it. Pretty good. I think it looks pretty good right there. Some text. I love copy, meaning words or whatever, quotes, with visuals. I think it kind of adds that design element to a piece. All right, so here's what that looks like there. Doesn't that look kind of fun? Wouldn't that just, even just this card alone, even if you did, a card like that, wouldn't that be cool? Like a standard, this is your quarter-size card right there. It'd be like that amount of space, but that looks like just a good card alone. One stamp, 2 inks, well, 3 inks, with the brilliance up there. But here we go here, okay? See what just kind of frames off the piece up top there like that? I don't know, maybe we can use a little bit more cloud up here. But I think just a ton of atmosphere. So when I say about atmosphere, we're going back to that kinesthetic look. But from a visual standpoint alone, look at all that depth in there. And that's just using 2 inks. And it's just so much fun. You can do this on, like a dark matte cardstock. Do it in purples and greens or something like that, or red. That would look interesting. Wouldn't red look awesome? Or like a Stardream red. I think that would look amazing like that. It's like the passion, but you do it in blue like this. Like I said, I didn't have a very successful time stamping on top of like the gold, though. I don't know why. It just doesn't, that ink just doesn't want to adhere to it. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know if it's because this one's the text weight or whatnot. I don't know. I would have thought it would be the same. But see those little highlights down here? So the striations, I think look pretty good. Even before the highlights in there. Clouds, the moon in there. I think the white paint pen worked rather well on that. And the quote. So what do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 4 stamps, 2 inks, 1 Lapis Lazuli shimmery cardstock, and I don't know, I think that makes for a ton of depth right here. I'm really happy with those clouds in there and how that ink applies, but just so much fun and just a real joy working on that type of blue in there. That blue is kind of an extra little treat. You go like that. I love that. I keep saying this over and over. There's just so many different personalities to this card. That looks a lot different with that lighting on it than that, don't you think? So it's like you can enjoy it in so many different ways, Look how dimensional that looks. You look at it from the side like that too. It just looks so different. Okay, so anyways, I hope you enjoyed the scene and the techniques and whatnot. And I hope, if you like these cards, I hope you stamp along with me and kind of develop this yourself and have a lot of fun, or have as much fun as I did. And I don't know, I think this technique for me on the paper is here to stay. I mean, I just love that look of it. It's just so different. I mean, it's doesn't, you know, some people ask me sometimes, hey, you know, what kind of paper do you like, you know, or was the best? Okay, I mean, this, you just get different looks on, you know, the different surfaces that you're working on. You know, there's all kinds of things to try out. Oh, here's Nature's Set number 9. This is the same techniques right here, but this is on a flat purple, okay? So here you can kind of compare and contrast right here. I think this is a lot of fun right here, this one. I kind of went crazy with everything, the Dr. Martens, bleed proof white, and glowing stars and whatnot. But I really like the look of this too. But this one right here, I don't know, that extra shimmery texture, that's, I don't know. That's not a bad thing to have in there, that extra little bit. I do love that, you know, that dark purple, though, cardstock. But I don't know, with that dark purple cardstock plus having a little bit of shimmer to it, like a Stardream dark purple look good. I don't know. We'll have to give that a test sometime, or I'll have to buy some of it. Okay, so thanks again for watching. And if you stamped along with me, for stamping along with me, and if you have any questions or comments, drop me a note in the comments section. If you like this video, please hit the like button.